here's what we're talking about today, all right? You hear a lot about real estate and how pricing is important. And we know, as we've talked about before on our show many different times, pricing is a major thing when it comes to getting real estate sold.
Yes.
When it comes to buying real estate, price is something that you need to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to talking price, there are myths that are out there about things you should and shouldn't do with price. As far as when it's coming time to sell your home, there are things that you should pay attention to that could be a myth of maybe that you've heard before as far as how do I arrive at that price. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to give you 3 or 4, time permitting, we're going to give you 3 or 4 myths that could be something you've heard or maybe even thought of yourself. As to, we're going to bust these myths today and tell you why these are just a myth.
This was good because one of them I just had this conversation with on Monday.
Gotcha. So with that being said, let's jump into pricing myths today. We're going to bust them right here on the show.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you go first. We're going to lead off with you today. So
Okay.
Since you got one
I'm
off
good.
the top of your head here.
So this was the conversation I had on Monday.
Gotcha.
This is a myth now. If you price your house too high, price it too high, you're going to make more money.
Gotcha.
That's not always the case.
That is not always the
That
case.
is not always
That's
the
a
case.
myth.
That's a big myth.
Yes.
This will hurt you. This can hurt you in the long run.
There's no doubt about it.
Because again, I was telling the guy, I was on a listing appointment, I was telling the guy, and I said, if you overprice it, and you'll see this a lot, where houses have been overpriced, you'll see that those days on the market add up.
Right.
So people think, well, I'm going to price a little bit high because it's like buying a car.
Right.
It's like buying a car. I'm going to price it high.
Negotiate.
They're going to negotiate. We're going to negotiate it
Go back and
down.
forth.
We're going to come back and forth. Yeah, all this other stuff. So I told, so what happens is a lot of times people overprice it.
Sure.
When people's looking, they never even find your house because yours is a little bit overpriced.
Right.
When they start seeing, well, I can go get this one or I can get this one, and yours is the high one, and it should be down here with the other ones, you've overpriced yourself, so you're not even going to get people to come look.
Right.
Because they're going to judge you right off that first impression of, they think, by looking at, I'm comparing stuff on Zillow or whatever, and they're going to think, well, this house is overpriced. So you're not going to get any activity at all.
Absolutely.
Then your days on the market is going to start tacking on there.
Absolutely.
And then they're going to start thinking, oh,
What's the
okay,
matter?
this house has been on the market for a long time.
Right.
Then here comes that where, okay, let's listen a little bit now and let's start bringing it back down where it's supposed to be. Now we're reducing the price, and they're thinking,
Absolutely.
okay, it's been on the market for 3 months. Now they've dropped the price $25,000. Something's got to be wrong with this house.
That's right. And a lot of times, again, I think there is that myth that is out there, price it high, and, I'm going to be able to just make a ton of money off of it. And most of the time, you're right. You got to think of, if it is overpriced, it prolongs it being on the market for longer. You're paying more payments, maintenance, upkeep, all those things that it takes to maintain your house. So in the long run, it costs you money because you're keeping it longer.
Right.
And that's a big myth that's out there. Now, as far as the money that you make, as far as the proceeds go, really, that's all depending upon what you owe. Do you owe? Is it free and clear?
Right.
That is all where that comes in.
Right.
The price part of it, usually, again, being overpriced, is going to prolong what you're doing, just as you said.
And even at that, I told him, I said, let's just say you say, okay, let's price it $20,000 above what it probably should sell for.
Right.
Well, it all comes down to that appraisal.
Right.
So if he comes out there and don't give it that same value, because somebody might just see your house and they say, I love it, I'm going to buy it. But if the appraisal don't come back, the bank's not going to loan them the money.
Sure.
It's still going to have to come back down.
I agree 100%. So again, what we're talking about today is pricing myths. Pricing myths to stop believing if you ever hope to sell your home. There are a lot of myths out there when it comes particularly to pricing. There are things you want to go on. You got anything else for number one? So here we go for number 2. All right. Number 2 myth is if your home, I'm going to piggyback off you, if your home is overpriced, it's no big deal to drop it later. All right.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that is the truth.
Right.
You can drop it anytime you want to.
Yeah.
You can drop the price of your house anytime you want to. If you're working with a local real estate professional, they can do the paperwork, go in, drop that price anytime that you want that done. The myth of that is here's why you don't want to do that, is because literally within the first 30 days of your home being on the market, it will get 5 to 10 times more exposure
Right.
to the public on the website, on apps, on all of those places that's when it's going to get the majority of all of its exposure.
Right.
So you don't want to do that price. You don't want to overprice it and say, well, I'll drop it 30, 60, 90 days out. I'll just drop the price, come down where I need to be. That's a myth that you need to do that, because, again, during those first 30 days, when the world is seeing it, when it's being revealed to the world, that's when the most people is going to see it. That's when it's going to be its hottest. That's when it's going to show at the top of all the searches.
Right.
So you want your house in a prime position to be able to be seen by everybody that can see it. The more people see it, the better opportunity that you could have to get that house sold quickly, where your price drops later, even though they will reflect. Most people that's looking for a house, they've got this little feature, and it's a filter search that when they go in and look, and they filter their searches to newest added or newest release.
Right.
Because they know I've just looked yesterday, so they ain't need to go back and hash through what I've already looked at.
Right.
I just want to see what's new.
Right.
Even though there's a price adjustment been made,
right,
your house is still buried in where all of those other ones are.
Yeah, you got to start it out right. I mean, that's key. Okay, let's just put this in a little bit different perspective here.
Gotcha.
I used this the other day. I thought it was pretty good.
Gotcha.
So Fazoli's, people's been anticipating Fazoli's coming here forever.
Right.
So let's just say Fazoli's opened up. They had their grand opening the other day, and man, we all rushed down there like we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we go down there, and to get a baked lasagna, it was $19.95.
Sure. Right.
Man, Fazoli's just took a hit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can they come back from it when they lower the price?
Sure.
Maybe, but man, they just put a bad taste in everybody's mouth right off the bat. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they overprice stuff. So they're getting all that exposure because man, we just had a ribbon cut and blah blah blah, all this stuff right here, and then it's overpriced.
Your lasagna is $19.95.
But your lasagna is $19.95. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but if it comes out right, if they got that baked lasagna,
will anybody give
right,
that chance again? Is the question.
Right.
Yeah. So again, pricing myth number 2 is if your home's overpriced, it's no big deal to lower it later. Yeah, that's absolutely right. You can lower it, but you are taking a major hit by being overpriced in the beginning and trying to make those adjustments later. We're halfway through our pricing myths, what we're sharing with you today. We want to make sure, for those that may have just joined the room, you got an opportunity today to win some circus tickets. We're giving away 2 pairs of 4 circus tickets to Thompson Bowling Arena, Knoxville, Tennessee, October the 18th through the 20th. We're going to give you opportunity to win those today. All you have to do, like the video, share the video, and tell us where you're watching from in the comment box today. Make sure you do that. Once you do that, you are entered to win these circus tickets today. We're going to draw for those live right here in just a few minutes on the show. Also, we've got a would you rather question. Would you rather never again have air conditioning, or would you rather never again have heat?
Can I make one point on that right there?
Go right ahead.
Janet Miller, she went and explained her answer.
Broke it down here.
Okay?
Broke it down.
So she says, have you ever had to drive a car without heat?
Right.
The windows will fog up and make it impossible to drive.
Right. Thinking about safety here.
So think about that, yeah.
Thinking about safety.
You ain't got no defrost.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a bunch of women living in my house. They'd be hot air in there all the time, defrosting those windows. You know what I'm saying? Just kidding, Cole. Just kidding. Just kidding. So again,
Rose says, let your realtor price the home for you.
That's exactly right. That's what you need to do. 100%. Thank you, Miss Rose. We got number 3 coming up here. Pricing myths, we're taking them out.
Okay, so I'm going to go on the flip side of what I said just a minute ago.
All right.
I don't think a lot of people hear this right here.
Sure.
I think this is a great point. It's a big myth. So the myth is, if you price your home too low,
sure,
you ain't going to make
too high.
You ain't going to make as much money.
Talk to us about that.
Now that, to me, I think that's. I mean, okay, could it be? Yeah, possibly.
Sure.
Okay, it's out there, but this is what I think a lot of people don't see a lot of times. If you price your home a little bit low, let's just use numbers.
You just price it, and a lot of times though, we need to define low, because low to some people, Rose just said let your realtor price it.
Right.
A lot of times low to people is the right price, but it's low in their mind.
Right.
But low is the right price.
Well, I was going to give like an example of, let's just say your home should sell for $150.
Thought we was going to get a Fazoli's reference.
Okay, now I'm off Fazoli's. So if your numbers come back and it says you could sell your home for $150. It's not a bad thing to go $145.
Sure.
Because again, you're now, what this does a lot of times, you'll see this happen sometimes, and as of late it's been happening quite a bit, but even at a different price. But if you could sell it at $150 and you price it at $145, a lot of times you're going to get so much activity.
Sure.
Because yours is the deal.
Right.
Yours is the best deal.
Yeah, a lot of
So
eyeballs.
you're going to get a
lot of
ton
views.
of activity on the
Major.
house. A ton of showings. Like
Yeah.
you said, all the views on the internet, you're going to get all that.
Sure.
And a lot of times what that does
Right.
is that when you got that many showings, you've got that much stuff going on, when it's
Spitting fire right now.
when you go out to show somebody a house and there's 3 other sets of people that's out there looking at it, man,
They think I better put an offer,
and
I better put a high offer, and I
come
better
strong.
put it right now.
I better come
Gets
strong.
more attention
You
to
don't
it.
get those low offers anymore.
You know what that's called, man? That's
Yeah.
called strategy.
That
Just
is called
strategize in
strategy.
here a little bit. You're
Yeah.
trying to get a strategy to get as many people, many eyeballs as possible. We've got a question in the back right here.
Karen Early has asked a great question.
Karen's got a great question here for us today. While you're doing that, looking at that question, make sure you're playing a game with us. Try to win the circus tickets. Make sure you're doing the would you rather. Would you rather never have air? Would you rather never have heat? That's what we want to hear.
So let me give you Karen's
Go with
question.
the question.
Karen's question is, to keep from overpricing,
Mm-hmm.
do you need to keep it around your appraised value?
Appraised value. There's a lot of different values that are out there. There's tax value.
Mm-hmm.
There's tax appraisal. There's a true appraisal. And then we as real estate agents do what's called a market analysis.
Now, there's a refinancing appraisal.
There's all kinds of different appraisals. So it does depend upon which appraisal that you're speaking of.
Yes.
Sometimes tax appraisals are not the best ones to go by.
Right.
Now, however, if you do get a certified appraiser to come out and they do an appraisal on your house, say this is what the house is worth
But tell them.
for a purchase,
Yes.
then you're good to go. Sometimes refinancing appraisals are even high.
Right.
So you got to really watch what's the appraisal being done for.
What's the purpose
What's
of
the
it?
purpose of the appraisal? Is it so somebody can purchase it? They're going to loan money against the house. They need to know, is the house worth that amount of money? Is it a refinancing appraisal so you can get $20,000 or $30,000 home equity loan? What is that appraisal for? That's
Right.
what you're wanting to try to look for. Tax appraisal, again, this is what I tell people
That's
about
where we
tax
see people
appraisal.
mess up a lot. It's tax
Tax
appraisal.
appraisal, again, that's what they charge you taxes on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's going to be high or low? They're charging you taxes off of that.
It's
Okay?
usually high.
Sometimes it's high. You see Zillow's estimates. Lord, we've had a whole show about that. Don't even go down that road. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Get, again, either a purchase appraisal or have a real estate agent come out and do you a market analysis.
There you go.
And see then what happens. Here's the good thing about a market analysis versus an appraisal. We're not trying to find monetary value. We're not trying to say, yep, it's worth this because we're going to give you money. We ain't giving you no money.
Right.
We're going to try to sell it for you.
Right.
So we look at, again, what the market says has happened to homes that are around you. So, again, we can typically get you very, very close to where that appraiser
Big deal between the difference between a market analysis and an appraisal?
Mm-hmm.
About $500.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And a market analysis is free, and an appraisal is going to charge you about $500.
That's exactly right. So that typically is. That's a great question, though, because there are a lot of different types of appraisals that you can look at and you can get. So the purpose of them, what's the purpose of the appraisal being done for, is something that you need to look at. So that is a wonderful
And that's
question.
again, that's a question that I get weekly.
Sure.
Is that my house appraised?
Sure.
My house appraised for blank.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question is, so you paid to have an appraisal done?
Right.
And a lot of people think that tax appraisal
Right.
is a true appraisal.
Sure. Yeah. So again, that's a great question as far as that goes. That's helping us debunk price.
Karen
right
says,
here.
"Thank you. I didn't know there was that many different kind of appraisals."
There's a lot of different.
Yes.
Well, it's still an appraisal. It's an appraisal, but it's for what's the purpose of the appraisal? You had the right word.
Right.
What's the purpose of the appraisal being done for?
Yeah, because I always
another
look at-
thing,
yeah.
I just done a home equity line
There you go.
on my house.
There you go.
And that appraisal was literally done. The guy drove by my house. He told us, all I have to do, I don't need in. All I have to do is come and see your house. I have to take pictures, now think of this, of all four corners of your house. So he literally stood at my house, took a
Wanted to
picture
see if it was standing.
of all four corners of the house. He based his appraisal upon it. Never walked in the door.
Right.
Never walked in the door of my house.
So how they know if you got floors in there?
So what's going on in there? You know what I'm
Is
saying?
there a kitchen
So
in the
that's
house?
what I'm saying. The purpose of it is the major thing that you got to look at.
Right.
All right. So that wraps up our real estate portion today.